They may never say, "I love you," but everything they do quietly screams it. And the truth is, the deepest attachments are rarely spoken. They are felt. Imagine this. There's someone in your life who never confesses anything directly. No grand gestures, no dramatic words, no late-night emotional speeches, yet somehow they are always there, watching. Not in a controlling way, but in a way that feels like they notice you more than others do. They remember the smallest details you've long forgotten. They show up when you least expect it, and disappear just enough to not seem obvious. And sometimes you catch them looking at you, not with desire, but with something deeper, something quieter, something almost unexplainable. Carl Jung once said, "Where love rules, there is no will to power." And that's the thing about deep attachment. It doesn't try to control you, it simply stays. But here's the unsettling part. People who are deeply attached to you often hide it better than anyone else. Not because they don't feel it, but because what they feel is too real to risk losing. So the question is, what if someone is already deeply attached to you, and you're just not seeing the signs? In this video, we're going to uncover the 5 subtle, almost invisible signs that someone is emotionally tied to you, without ever saying a word. And once you see them, you won't be able to unsee them. Part 1. They are quietly consistent. Before we go deeper, tell me to continue when you're ready. There's a difference between someone who wants you and someone who is attached to you. The one who wants you will come in waves, intense, exciting, unpredictable. But the one who is deeply attached, they are steady, not loud, not dramatic, not attention-seeking, just consistent. They don't need to text you every minute to prove something. They don't demand your time or energy. Yet somehow, they show up in your life like a quiet rhythm that never breaks. Think about it. They check in on you, not to impress you, but because they genuinely wonder how you are. They remember your routines, your moods, even your silence. And here's the strange part. You never feel exhausted around them because their presence doesn't take from you, it stabilizes you. This is what ancient philosophers understood deeply. Lao Tzu once said, "Water is fluid, soft and yielding, but water will wear away rock." That's what quiet consistency is like. It doesn't force itself into your life. It doesn't demand recognition. But over time, it becomes something you rely on without even realizing it. A person who is deeply attached to you doesn't need to prove their place in your life. They simply remain. And one day you wake up and realize they've been there longer than anyone else. Reflective takeaway. Look at the people who don't create chaos in your life, but quietly stay. Attachment isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the silence that stays. Part 2. They notice the smallest changes in you. Before we go deeper, tell me to continue when you're ready. There is something almost unsettling about being truly seen, not the surface-level version of you, the smiles, the jokes, the curated personality you show the world, but the subtle shifts, the quiet pauses in your voice, the way your energy drops for no visible reason. The difference between your "I'm fine" and your "actually fine." Most people don't notice these things. They're too busy thinking about themselves. But someone who is deeply attached to you, they study you without realizing it. Not in an obsessive way, but in a deeply human, almost instinctive way. They'll ask, "You seem a little off today. Are you okay?" Even when you've said nothing. They'll notice when your laughter feels forced, when your silence feels heavier than usual, and sometimes they'll understand your emotions before you do. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This is that reaction. When someone is deeply attached to you, your inner world begins to affect them. Your sadness lingers in them. Your joy lifts them. It's as if your emotional state quietly becomes part of theirs. And here's the truth most people don't realize. Attention is the purest form of attachment. Because in a world full of distractions, choosing to truly notice someone is rare. Real-life analogy. It's like a musician who can hear when a single instrument is slightly out of tune. Even in a full orchestra, that's how they perceive you. Reflective takeaway, pay attention to who notices your smallest changes without you having to explain yourself. Because those are the people who are emotionally invested in ways words could never fully express. Part 3. They react to your absence more than your presence. There's a subtle shift that happens when someone is deeply attached to you, and you only truly notice it when you pull away. When you're around, everything feels normal. Conversations flow, moments pass, laughter comes easily. But the real truth of their emotions isn't revealed when you're present. It's revealed when you're not. Suddenly their energy changes. They check their phone more often. They seem slightly distracted, like something is missing, but they can't quite explain it. They might not directly say, "I miss you," but their behavior begins to whisper it in 100 different ways. You'll notice it in how quickly they respond when you finally reach out. Or how conversations suddenly feel more intense, more alive, as if they've been holding something in, because they have. Attachment creates a kind of emotional gravity, and when the person they're attached to disappears, even briefly, it leaves behind a quiet emptiness. Buddha once said, "You only lose what you cling to." But what he didn't say is that clinging is often silent. It hides behind composure, behind casual words, behind the illusion of independence. But absence exposes everything. It reveals who notices the silence, who feels the distance, who struggles, even slightly, when you're not within reach. In a world where people are constantly surrounded by noise, distractions, and endless options, the one who feels your absence deeply is telling you something rare. Your presence is not replaceable. And that kind of emotional imprint doesn't happen by accident. Part 4. Your pain affects them more than they admit. Before we go deeper, tell me to continue when you're ready. There is a kind of connection that goes beyond words, beyond logic, beyond even visible emotion. It's when someone feels your pain, as if it were their own, not in an obvious dramatic way, not with loud sympathy or constant reassurance, but in quiet, almost hidden reactions. They become a little distant when you're hurting, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to carry what they feel. They think about your problems long after the conversation has ended. They replay your words in their mind, searching for ways they could have made it better, and sometimes they hurt in silence, just like you do. This is what emotional attachment really looks like. The Buddha once said, "True love is born from understanding," and understanding someone deeply means you don't just hear their pain, you absorb it. But here's the part most people misunderstand. People who are deeply attached to you don't always express their concern clearly. They might not say, "I'm worried about you." They might not even ask how you're doing again, but they'll show it in other ways. They'll check in casually. They'll try to make you laugh. They'll stay close and without forcing conversation, because losing you emotionally feels like losing a part of themselves. Real-life analogy. It's like hearing a song that reminds you of someone, and suddenly your mood changes, even if nothing else has. That's how your emotions affect them. Part 5. They never fully let you go. This is the final sign, and perhaps the most powerful one. There are people who come into your life and leave as easily as they arrived. And then there are those who never truly leave. Even when conversations fade, even when circumstances change, even when time stretches between you, they remain. Not physically, But emotionally, they still think about you at random moments. They still remember things you once said. They still feel a quiet connection that refuses to disappear. Albert Camus once wrote, "You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of." And strangely, deep attachment works the same way. It doesn't follow logic. It doesn't obey distance. It doesn't disappear just because it's inconvenient. It stays because something in them has already chosen you, even if they never say it, even if they try to move on, even if life pulls you in different directions. A part of them remains tied to you in a way they can't fully explain. Real-life analogy. It's like a place you once lived in. You may leave it behind, but a part of you always belongs there. That's what you become to someone who is deeply attached to you. And here's the truth. Attachment is not always about possession. It's about connection. And some connections are too deep to be undone by time or silence. So now, look back at your life. Who has been quietly consistent? Who notices the smallest changes in you? Who finds reasons to stay? Who feels your pain, even when they don't say it? And who never truly lets you go? Because chances are, someone, somewhere, is deeply attached to you, and you're only just beginning to see it.